to invest more money in new product. They've got to find a way to do their marketing correctly. And that was an area where the CEO, Carlos Tavares, said he made a mistake. He actually came out and said, he told me just a few months ago.
Stellantis has been so greedy that they have dug their own grave. With sales spiraling down, inventory stacking up, and tensions on the rise with the United Auto Workers, their aggressive game plan is setting off alarm bells. Have you ever thought that the very tactics that shot Stellantis to the top of the automotive world could now be risking its future, and by extension, your wallet? As they battle plummeting numbers and overflowing stock, you're probably asking yourself, how will these issues play a role in your next vehicle buy? Can Stellantis bounce back from this, or is their unyielding chase for profit going to mean higher prices and fewer choices for consumers like you? What's happening? Stellantis, the automotive giant formed from the merger of Fiat Chrysler and PSA Group. While at first glance, this merger appeared to be a brilliant strategic move, one that promised to unite resources and expertise to carve out a larger slice of the global market, the reality has unraveled in less than savory ways. The exciting possibility of working together hasn't played out as intended, and instead, we've seen a troubling trend of prioritizing profit margins over meaningful innovation. So why does this matter? When companies like Stellantis chase profits with reckless abandon, they often forget the very people who help build their brands, the consumers. Instead of investing in groundbreaking technologies that enhance sustainability and improve user experience, Stellantis seems more focused on squeezing every last drop from its existing assets. It's a strategy that might yield short-term gains, but is ultimately unsustainable, and it seems like the downfall has already started. The fall of iconic brands. When it comes to the automotive arena, things can shift dramatically in the blink of an eye. Just take a look at Stellantis, which is currently grappling with a troubling decline in its sales numbers, a trend that's raising eyebrows and prompting serious discussions. For the third quarter of 2024, the company announced a jaw-dropping 20% drop in US sales year-on-year, managing to deliver only 305,294 vehicles. That's quite a fall considering the numbers from the previous year during the same time frame. This decline doesn't just represent a temporary setback, it marks the 5th consecutive quarter in which sales have taken a downturn. So what's really happening here? If we dig a bit deeper into the numbers, the situation becomes even more concerning. Over the past 5 years, Stellantis has faced a significant overall sales drop of 39%. Now, that's not a small blip on the radar. It's a substantial long-term trend that indicates some serious underlying issues. The Dodge brand in particular has been hit especially hard, standing out with an astonishing 67% decrease in sales since 2013. Yes, you heard it right, this iconic American brand is facing some harsh realities. But Dodge isn't the only one in trouble. Other key brands under the Stellantis umbrella have also experienced significant challenges, reflecting a broader issue across the board. Let's break down some of the key statistics by brand. Starting with Dodge, we've already seen that sales have plummeted by 67% since 2013. This isn't a mere fluctuation, it's a seismic shift in consumer demand. What about Jeep? Well, things aren't rosy there either, as sales tumbled by 19% in quarter 2 2024. When we turn our attention to Ram, the story is similarly dismal, with a decline of 26% during the same quarter. And then there's Chrysler, which recorded a staggering 43% decrease, showcasing the breadth of troubles affecting this legacy brand. But here's where it gets particularly interesting. The decline in sales isn't equal across the board. Some brands in Stellantis' portfolio are faring better than others. For instance, Fiat is one of the few bright spots, recently reporting an impressive 118% increase in sales. However, this skyrocket in sales isn't enough to overshadow the pervasive struggles faced by Stellantis' core brands. The disparity in performance raises some compelling questions about product offerings, brand positioning, and consumer interest. Are they truly meeting what buyers want in a highly competitive market? To illustrate this sales performance disparity, let's look at some specific numbers. Dodge's sales dropped by an alarming 47% in the third quarter compared to last year. Chrysler is down 43%, which is no small feat when considering its historical significance. And even Jeep, which many may assume is a stronghold for Stellantis, saw a decrease of 19% in quarter 2 2024. It's enough to make any car enthusiast scratch their head in bewilderment. What's happening to these once stalwart brands? This sales slump is indicative of more than just missteps in marketing or bad luck. Then what's the reason for all this? A race against time. In the fast-paced automotive world, where innovation and responsiveness often reign supreme, Stellantis recently revealed alarming news. They posted a staggering 48% drop in net profit during the first first half of 2024. Just pause for a moment and let that sink in. Net profit slipped from approximately $11 billion to $6.07 billion compared to the same period last year. This isn't just a minor hiccup, it's a wake-up call. But what's behind this dramatic and perplexing decline? First off, one of the most significant contributors to Stellantis's financial woes is the sobering reality of reduced sales volumes. Picture this. During the second quarter of 2024, the company saw a shocking decline in US sales compared to the same quarter a year prior. Now that's quite a hit. To put it into perspective, Stellantis's overall market share in North America has plummeted to 8.2%. This is more than just a drop in sales. It symbolizes a loss of competitive edge. When you look at how rivals like General Motors and Ford have been performing, it's clear that Stellantis needs to figure out a way to step up its game. So what's causing this sudden downturn? Well, there's a myriad of factors at play here. Let's not overlook the operational issues that have snagged Stellantis. These aren't just minor concerns. We're talking about significant problems like inventory mismanagement and production gaps. It's already a challenge in the automotive industry to keep pace with market demands, and missteps in operations can derail the entire process. CEO Carlos Tavares has openly acknowledged that these critical operational hiccups are directly influencing the company's performance. If the head honcho himself is pointing to these issues, you know they're serious. Moving on to the high inventory levels, this is another pressing concern that has left Stellantis grappling for solutions. Think about it. When a company has excessive inventory sitting around, it's not just an inconvenience. It can seriously strain profit margins. Excess inventory can lead to increased costs and creates a scenario where valuable resources are tied up instead of being utilized effectively. Tavares himself has indicated that tackling these inventory problems is a top priority moving forward if they want to hope for any improvement in profitability. The figures paint a stark picture. How did we reach this situation? One significant factor is the changing landscape of consumer preferences. With the rise of electric vehicles and an ever-growing emphasis on sustainability, buyers are now seeking out brands that align with their values. Reflecting on Stellantis's heavy reliance on traditional combustion engine vehicles, it's no wonder that they may be facing dwindling interest from these savvy consumers. Also, let's not forget the internal dynamics at play. Employee morale can be impacted dramatically in times of crisis. A drop in profits doesn't just mean financial trouble. It usually translates to job insecurity, which can lead to a decline in workplace productivity. When employees start feeling disengaged, whether it's worrying about layoffs or frustration over management's direction, it diminishes not just their own effectiveness, but the collective spirit of an entire organization. There's so much potential within Stellantis's workforce that can go to waste if the environment feels toxic or unstable, meaning focusing on employee satisfaction might need to be a significant part of the bigger picture. The inventory crisis. The world of automotive sales is a bustling arena filled with competition, consumer demands, and, unfortunately, sometimes frustrating inventory issues. As we inch into late 2024, Stellantis is making headlines for its ambitious plans to revamp its approach to dealer inventory. The company is now targeting a significant reduction in unsold vehicles to a manageable level of no more than 330,000 units by the end of the year. You might wonder, why the urgency? This new target marks a major shift from earlier estimates, which aim for a similar cut by the first quarter of 2025. The push to streamline inventory reflects a larger struggle at Stellantis. It's a response to serious concerns about excess stock piling up, especially as sales figures dip for many of its key brands. The challenge of unsold vehicles isn't just a minor annoyance, it's a thorn in the side of Stellantis's operations. Recent reports have painted a troubling picture. Certain popular models, like the Ram 1500, have been languishing on dealer lots for a staggering 432 days. Can you imagine? These vehicles not only tie up significant capital, creating a financial burden, but they also complicate the logistics for dealers who have to juggle managing their floor plans and operational costs. High days supply numbers indicate that these vehicles are lingering around far longer than the industry average, which can wreak havoc on the financial health of dealerships. When cars don't sell, cash flow gets blocked, and believe me, that's not a good sign. To put this in perspective, let's examine represents some of the best-selling brands at Stellantis. Dodge, for instance, has been averaging 149 days for vehicle inventory, while Jeep isn't faring much better at an average of 122 days. Now, consider that the average days for the industry stand at around 76 days. This glaring discrepancy signals that the excess inventory issue isn't just a minor inconvenience. It stems from a broader problem involving reduced consumer demand and a distinct lack of competitive incentives to boost sales. But how do dealers feel about this growing mountain of unsold vehicles on their lots? Dealers' dilemma. Dealers have been vocal about their dissatisfaction, expressing serious concerns regarding the allocation of desirable trim levels for some of Stellantis' most sought-after vehicles. Think about it. When a dealer cannot get enough of the popular base models of vehicles like the Jeep Grand Cherokee and Wrangler, it limits their ability to compete in the marketplace effectively. In essence, it's as if they're being handed half-finished tools to work with. Recently, the Stellantis National Dealer Council took a bold step and sent a letter directly to CEO Carlos Tavares. They didn't mince words as they criticized his management strategies regarding inventory and expressed their mounting frustration over the ever-growing number of unsold vehicles crowding their lots. Despite Stellantis' attempts at implementing national incentive campaigns that sometimes include cash discounts reaching as high as $2,000, many dealers feel these efforts fall short of addressing the deeper, systemic issues plaguing their sales environments. Now, this begs the question, how did we arrive at this point? Is it simply a matter of poor sales dynamics, or is there something more insidious at play? The reality is that we're witnessing a significant shift in consumer behavior. Buyers today are not just looking for any vehicle, they are astutely considering their options. Factors such as eco-friendliness, technology integrations, and safety ratings weigh heavily in their decision-making processes. In the face of all this, Stellantis is left grappling with a serious dilemma: how to break the cycle of overproduction and stagnation. The financial quagmire. High levels of unsold vehicles aren't just an inconvenience. They put tremendous pressure on dealers to offload older models as swiftly as possible. With every passing day, those unsold cars are taking up valuable lot space that could otherwise be allocated to new arrivals. Think about it. Every unsold vehicle is tying up real estate that could be used for fresh inventory that customers are excited to see. But here's where it gets tricky. Those unsold vehicles are also depreciating in value over time. In essence, the clock is ticking, and as newer models hit showroom floors, the allure of older stock diminishes significantly. Dealers find themselves in a race against time, with each new model introduction reducing the desirability of the cars already sitting on their lots. It's a tough situation that forces dealers into an urgent position. They need to move that older inventory or risk losing even more money. What's a dealer to do in such a situation? Well, enter aggressive discounting strategies. To get those unpopular older models off the lot, many dealers resort to slashing prices, hoping that a lower price will motivate customers to make a purchase. But here's the catch. While discounting might relieve the pressure in the short term, it often comes at the expense of profit margins. When dealers are pushed to sell vehicles that aren't moving, their margins begin to dwindle, and the financial strain becomes all too real. In a situation like this, opting for a quick sale over a profitable one can spell disaster, as dealers may end up in the red rather than the black. Now, let's talk about what the financial strain looks like from a broader perspective. Those profit margins are crucial for dealers. They fuel everything from payroll to operational expenses. When margins shrink, dealers face tough decisions regarding their budgets, resources, and ultimately their sustainability. If this trend continues, they might struggle to maintain a healthy business model or even invest in strengthening their brand presence in the community. Moreover, the pressure doesn't just affect the financials, it also permeates the dealer's mindset. Think about the stress that accompanies having a mountain of unsold vehicles on the lot. It can lead to frustration and anxiety, feelings that, believe it or not, can trickle down to customer interactions. If a dealer feels pressured to make a sale, they might inadvertently project that urgency onto the customer, leading to uncomfortable experiences. Let's discuss what happens when a customer walks in ready to buy. If a salesperson is desperate to unload an older model, that can lead to high-pressure sales tactics, something that rarely sits well with potential buyers. Customers nowadays are savvy, they want to feel valued, and they prefer a more relaxed purchasing environment where they can make considered decisions. If they catch on to the dealership's financial pressures, they might disengage or seek alternatives altogether, eroding the sales potential even further. The price hike backlash. Stellantis is facing a tricky landscape filled with challenges related to its pricing strategies and inventory management. These hurdles don't just pose potential problems for its financial performance, they also threaten the critical relationships Stellantis has with its dealers and customers alike. Let's kick things off by diving into the recent increases in prices that Stellantis has imposed across its various brands. Have you noticed? In recent quarters, the company has made some noteworthy price hikes, and they've sparked concern from industry observers and customers alike about the potential for alienating buyers. For example, the average transaction price for Stellantis vehicles surged by 6%, reaching an eye-popping $59,292 during the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, that's a hefty figure, especially when you consider that the industry average sits around $48,759, at a time when competitors like Ford and General Motors have either kept their prices stable or only seen minor increases. This significant price difference raises potential red flags for consumers. Many shoppers might now see Stellantis vehicles as pricier than alternatives, which is a huge deterrent. It's essential to think about how customers perceive value. Take the Ram brand, for instance. Its average transaction price climbed to $66,987, reflecting a sharp 10% rise. While higher prices might indicate quality or desirability, they can also intimidate budget-oriented consumers, especially with inflation affecting disposable income. When Stellantis keeps pushing up prices without any substantial improvements in perceived value or product offerings, it runs the risk of losing out to better-priced competitors. Now, let's dig deeper into this disconnect between Stellantis' pricing strategy and the actual willingness of consumers to spend their hard-earned money. This disconnect is glaringly evident in the company's alarming sales figures. You might think that higher prices would lead to higher revenues, but here's the twist. Even with those price increases, Stellantis reported a staggering drop in US sales during the third quarter of 2024 compared to the previous year. This decline points to a troubling misalignment. Consumers are becoming increasingly hesitant to shell out extra cash for vehicles that don't deliver enhanced features or benefits compared to previous models. What adds another layer of complexity is the wider economic landscape. As pressures mount on the average shopper's wallet, consumers are becoming more selective and discerning about their purchases. Many individuals are opting for more affordable vehicles or choosing to delay buying altogether. This shift is crucial for Stellantis to grasp. The average transaction price increase hasn't translated into the sales growth they might have hoped for. Instead, it's exacerbated the decline in market share, a worrying trend that could trigger even deeper issues down the road. Turbocharge controversy. Recently, Stellantis has introduced its Hurricane twin-turbo engine, a development that stirred up a whirlwind of reactions from customers and dealers alike. This launch showcases the complex dynamics of a market that is rapidly evolving, particularly in light of growing consumer preferences for electric vehicles. Let's talk about the details of this transition and see how it impacts Stellantis' strategies and dealer relationships. Let's start with the standout feature, the Hurricane twin-turbo engine. This powerhouse isn't just another engine, it signifies Stellantis' determination to boost performance across its extensive lineup, especially in beloved models like the Jeep Grand Cherokee and Ram trucks. The core aim: to deliver an enticing blend of power and efficiency, which in theory should attract consumers who crave that high-performance experience behind the wheel. Yet, despite these intentions, the launch has stirred controversy and mixed emotions among both consumers and dealers, raising questions about whether this new direction aligns with current market expectations. As the reaction unfolds, it becomes clear that while some customers are thrilled about the enhanced performance this engine promises, a vocal segment expresses serious concerns about its long-term relevance. After all, we're witnessing a significant shift toward electrification in the automotive world. Dealers, too, are caught in the middle of this dilemma. They can see that the Hurricane engine could provide a competitive edge in terms of performance, but they are also acutely aware that it may alienate environmentally conscious consumers. Are they really ready to invest in a gas guzzler in an era that's increasingly prioritizing sustainability? Moreover, the apprehensions among dealers don't end with performance concerns. They also revolve around how this new addition fits into Stellantis' overall strategy. Let's be real, the company has been grappling with challenges like maintaining inventory levels and defining consumer expectations around fuel efficiency and emission standards. As consumers become more environmentally aware and vocal about their preferences, the question lingers: will the demand for traditional internal combustion combustion engines wane? If so, dealers could easily find themselves facing a serious predicament with unsold inventory that simply doesn't resonate with today's eco-conscious clientele. The automotive landscape today seems to be dominated by discussions surrounding electric vehicles, and for good reason. In 2023, battery electric vehicles accounted for a whopping 70% of the electric car stock globally. This translated to rapid sales growth, reaching almost 14 million units sold, a significant 35% increase from the previous year. These statistics paint a vivid picture of shifting consumer preferences, driven primarily by heightened environmental awareness, favorable government incentives, and significant advancements in battery technology. Market dynamics. While Stellantis is introducing the Hurricane Twin Turbo as an answer to the performance desires of some consumers, there is a stark realization that many buyers are now focusing intently on fuel efficiency and sustainability. The continuous evolution of technology has led to a marketplace teetering on the edge of a major shift, where performance isn't everything. The global electric vehicle market is projected to explode in size, anticipated to grow from $396.4 billion in 2024 to $620.3 billion by 2030 at a notable compound annual growth rate of 7.7%. Such projections create urgency for traditional automakers to adjust their sales and align with these rapidly changing consumer demands. However, it's not all smooth sailing. Despite the leaps forward in electric vehicle technology, including better energy densities that improve driving ranges, there remains a noticeable consumer resistance to fully embracing electric vehicles. One of the biggest fears potential electric vehicle buyers face is range anxiety. Many are saddled with concerns about whether they'll be able to find charging stations during longer road trips, or if their vehicle can handle daily commutes without frequent stops for recharging. These fears linger like a cloud, casting shadows on the allure of electric vehicles. So where does Stellantis fit into all of this? As they roll out their new Hurricane engine, they also find themselves needing to navigate these hurdles intricately. The company appears to be treading a fine line, straddling the traditional powertrain landscape while also investing in electrification efforts. However, this dual strategy could easily confuse consumers who are in search of a clear commitment to sustainability. For those who are used to gas-powered engines and the rush of horsepower, the Hurricane may seem like a dream come true. But for eco-conscious consumers, a blended approach without a definitive pivot toward electrification could appear half-hearted, leaving them uncertain and wary. If Stellantis hopes to capture the attention of both camps, then clarity in messaging is vital. The growing frustration among dealers highlights the need for Stellantis to craft a cohesive strategy that addresses consumer desires while supporting its partners in the field. They hold the key to the brand's success at the ground level, and their insights must be valued as part of this transformational journey. As the automotive giant balances between past powertrain technologies and paving the path toward an electrified future, a unified vision that incorporates feedback from dealers is crucial. And let's not overlook the importance of effective marketing during this tumultuous phase. Stellantis has to find innovative ways to promote its new offerings, perhaps drawing comparisons that highlight how features of the Hurricane Twin Turbo can align with burgeoning consumer interests. They should consider creating campaigns that not only showcase the power of the Hurricane engine, but also illustrate how Stellantis is committed to reducing emissions and improving environmental health. By emphasizing sustainability and innovation, Stellantis can build a narrative that resonates with the current market trends. They can position their performance advancements in a context that values environmental responsibility, thus bridging that gap between consumers who seek traditional power and those drawn to greener alternatives. So, as this landscape continues to evolve, the question for Stellantis becomes pivotal. How can they create a clear identity that satisfies the cravings of performance aficionados while also catering to the increasing demand for electric vehicles? The road ahead may be rocky, but opportunities abound for those ready to adapt and redefine their approach.